Here's an idea. Dubstep is avant-garde musical genius. In case you're not exactly sure what dubstep is, we've planned a little light switch rave to make sure that we're all up to speed. So, dubstep. It's a kind of dance music, and it originated in the UK around 2002. Its main characteristics are really complicated syncopated rhythms, a crazy array of non-musical sounds, and oh man, the wub. Dubstep tends to polarize, meaning if it isn't your thing, it's noisy, aggressive, repetitive, and inharmonic dross. But if it is your thing, it's noisy, aggressive, repetitive, inharmonic perfection. Enjoy it or not though, dubstep's characteristics might actually put it in the running for avant-garde genius. Even if we're not all fans, dubstep does make a certain amount of sense to modern ears. After techno, hip-hop, punk rock, and jazz, we have a context for all of the crazy sounds that make up these wubs. Sine waves, square waves, massive kick drums, VCOs, VCFs, noisy distortion techniques, complex tempo business. This stuff is really hard to make and to listen to. And to non-modern ears, this stuff probably would sound like just noise. 100 years ago, there were a bunch of people who were doing some of the same things that Vexed and Datsik and Skrillex are doing now, but they were considered totally bizarre. Not like charming pop culture bizarre, but like fringe of the art world bizarre. In 1924, George Antheil wrote the Ballet Mécanique, which was one of the first instances where music-making machines were synchronized with live performers. Incidentally, it was also probably the first time that anybody complained about electronic music not actually being music. In the 1940s, Pierre Schaeffer invented music concrete, which used everyday sounds alongside and in place of music. Gentlemen who would have loved are the Futurists. Based in Italy around the turn of the century, the Futurists embraced technology, violence, and speed as the basis for their art. They were also anti-feminist fascist warmongers, so they weren't exclusively awesome. The Futurists' best-known composer, Luigi Russolo, argued that all sounds are musical, and that noise is really just a meaningless label. He even held noise concerts with his brother and their collection of weird, imposing-looking noise machines. Incidentally, it was probably the second time that people argued that this was not music. And he imagined a futurist orchestra which played what he called families of noise, all of which are featured prominently in dubstep. But the Futurists, they were just a short-lived movement at the fringe of the art world. Their performances were small affairs, at which I'm sure many monocles were dropped. They weren't even critically well received. After one performance in London, the Daily Sketch newspaper printed a review that read, "One listened in considerable distress. Only sufferers of complete deafness should attend the next recital." That is harsh. So clearly the Futurists never became as rich and famous as this bespectacled young man, or played to packed arenas like Bass Nectar does. This is probably a clear indication that Futurists were ahead of their